Welcome back, Amber. Don't worry, you haven't missed anything. We waited for you to come back. So on that note, we might get started, get this show on the road. So welcome to another HubSpot user group event, proudly brought to you by Refuel Creative. Oops, that's not what we want to do there. Okay, hopefully this is okay, looking good. Just a quick note in the, great, thanks Amber. Just quick, if you guys could just pop in a note in the channel just to make sure that the screen is sharing correctly. I'm hoping that you guys can see a fuller version of the presentation deck. So today we're here to talk about HubSpot and video. The dynamic duo. So that's the theme for today's session. So for today, first of all, I'm going to kind of run you through some of the technical aspects. So we're looking at how HubSpot and video work together and ways that, there's certainly been some developments in the last few months around the kind of data that we're now seeing in HubSpot. So it's really an exciting time, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you some of the details on this particular project. For our second part of this event, Carol will be joining me on screen, and we're going to have a chat about what makes good video. And I think we've got a few examples of some of the work that we've done that we're particularly proud of. So without further ado, and I might just get straight into the first part here around HubSpot and video, the dynamic duo. So let's get right to it. Hopefully that'll all good. So one of the things here is that video has been a hot trend for, it feels like, forever. It's been at least 10 years, I think, since those Old Spice commercials with the man in the shower and talking those kind of sort of videos where videos have really sort of taken into a life of their own. It's really been a huge thing, and it continues to be a strong trend. We had a look at the Not Another State of Marketing report for released by HubSpot late last year, and ultimately it's still the number one choice for marketers. Over 60% of marketing teams invested in video in 2021, and we're seeing the trend continue into 2022. It's the primary form of marketing media created in 2021, followed closely by blogs and infographics. But again, we're seeing that investment in video continue to be a really strong trend amongst businesses. 2020 in particular was an impressive year for video. According to Wistia, media uploads increased 80% year over year, peaking at 103,603 videos uploaded on April 22 on their platform alone. The dramatic increase shows that the global pandemic has, accelerated our video consumption and expectations, as well as the creation of video content. Though video uploads did slow later in that year, the overall number of uploads is still 88% higher than before the pandemic. Ultimately what we're seeing here is that video, while it's been a hot trend for a very long time, it is going to be a trend that I think that we'll continue to see. 12.2 billion minutes. So that's the number of minutes of video that was watched in 2020 alone. It's absolutely, incredible if you start kind of to break that down into the number of years. Apparently that's 23,211 years worth of content. It's just absolutely incredible. Wistia, who partnered with HubSpot on that Not Another State of Marketing report for 2021, also reported that minutes watched increased by 85%. So we're starting to see not just the investment in video continuing to grow, but also just the sheer volume of viewing. But what does that mean? At the moment, I think that traditionally when you think about it, the data is all, it kind of sits like in your YouTube channel at the moment, or you might have, running Vimeo on the side and embedding that on your website. And then you've uploaded videos to Facebook natively. You might have done a few other bits and pieces there as well. But ultimately what it comes down to is that the data is, or the viewing data in any case, you might be able to bring it across to a data visualization tool so you can start to see some trends around the viewing. But ultimately, all the data is going to be still stuck in a lot of those different platforms. And it's not necessarily something that we'll be able to just to pull out easily and that sort of thing. But is it, I guess, is there, for us, here at Refuel, we're all about trying to improve the customer experience by understanding our customers better. And the best way to do that is really by pulling as much data as we can. And as HubSpot, aficionados here, pulling as much of that data into HubSpot as we can. So, is there a way potentially that we can pull in this data from all these different sources? Wouldn't it be amazing if you could see, someone who's actually what they viewed and how long they were viewing it for, right down to the contact record? That would be amazing. Enter the HubSpot Media Bridge. So it's been a really exciting development. The HubSpot Media Bridge API was introduced fairly recently, and ultimately what it does is that it provides a way for integrators to push media and media consumption data into HubSpot. So there are currently, I think, about 12 apps on the app marketplace that are taking advantage of the Media Bridge API, where they are starting to bring in that video data. We kind of want to work through a specific example here so we can have a better understanding of what's of what we're actually looking at. But Wistia is one of these apps that we use. We are, have been using Wistia for, I think, just over 12 months now. And it has proven to be a very reliable video platform. The data that it brings into HubSpot is incredible, and you're also able to publish out from Wistia to your social channels. You're able to embed it on the website and a few other bits and pieces. The introduction of the Media Bridge API just makes it a little bit easier to use Wistia natively. So within HubSpot, you can actually search through your Wistia library. You can use it to gather leads. So the other part of this is that the integration is also allowed for HubSpot forms to be actually placed on the video. And then that way, wherever the video is, those forms are then following along. And it also does create CRM timeline events that show when prospects or customers have engaged with videos, audio, and other media types. So it's a pretty, those are probably the three initial things that are worth looking at. But yeah, let's have a quick word from Wistia before we kind of move on. So I'll just grab that video. Yep, here it is. So hopefully we're now switching over to this one here.
With the Wistia HubSpot integration, adding videos to your marketing is super easy. Capture leads right from the videos on your website.
Might just try that again.
With the Wistia HubSpot integration, adding videos to your marketing automation is super easy. Capture leads right from the videos on your website, sync viewing data with HubSpot, and add videos to your email workflows and landing pages, all without leaving HubSpot. Hi, I'm Izzy, and I'm going to show you around Wistia's integration with HubSpot. It all starts with adding a HubSpot form to your video, right within the Wistia player. You can prompt your lead to enter their contact information. You can even customize the form in HubSpot to collect specific information about your future customer. They won't even have to leave the video to become your next hot lead. Once the form is filled out, that lead becomes a contact in HubSpot, and all of their viewing data is automatically synced with their contact record. This means you'll be able to see things like which videos your leads watch, what percentage they watch, and what parts of the video they skip or rewatch. With that info in one place, your marketing and sales teams can see which videos your leads are engaging with the most, all at a glance. And of course, with HubSpot, we have to talk about how Wistia fits in with your marketing automation and segmentation. Using workflows, you can add leads to campaigns based on percentage of video watched, or you can choose which video you want your lead to watch next based on their viewing history. When you include video in your HubSpot workflows, it can increase click-throughs by up to 21%. Wistia also integrates with HubSpot's Media Bridge, so you can browse your Wistia projects without leaving HubSpot. Just pick the video you want and add it to email campaigns and landing pages. More engagement, fewer open browser tabs, and more leads, all thanks to combining your Wistia videos and HubSpot. Start incorporating videos in your marketing automation workflow using the Wistia HubSpot integration.
So that's something that obviously there's a quick sort of hit there around how the app itself actually works. But it has been, in some instances, it's a real sort of value add for the sales teams, but also for the marketing teams too. Given that you can kind of start looking at setting off those workflows and triggers based on what kind of activity people are taking and what videos they're watching, how much of the video they're getting through, and then sending a follow-up action that coincides with what needs to happen after that. So first of all, I thought I'd kind of delve in a little bit. I know that we've seen some of the details kind of just run through very, very quickly on the HubSpot Wistia integration video. But I did think that it was worthwhile actually kind of running through the process, as part of this session today. So we're going to just swap the tabs over. We're currently now in our, just sitting in a test website page that I've created. Now that we've enabled our and set up our Media Bridge integration with Wistia and Refuel's HubSpot portal, we are able to pick up Wistia modules, which are dedicated video modules, drop it on the page wherever it might land. Following on from that, the difference now is that previously you'd have to have a separate tab open with all of your Wistia library, and then you'd have to kind of go through, find the name of the video, and then get the embed code, and then copy the embed code and bring the embed code back. Whereas now with the Media Bridge API, we're able to select from Wistia itself and basically just pick. So in this particular example here, we might look at, okay, well, let's look at, the video that's Refuel and HubSpot, for example, and take it from there. So once that's in, we hit apply changes. And the video is embed ready to roll. So it's all a fairly straightforward sort of process. And really, I think will be a huge time saver for teams who are responsible for content creation. And that's ultimately, I think, what some of these efficiencies bring in. Any questions so far? Feel free to drop them in the chat whenever they come up, and then I'll come back to it. Very good. Cool. So we then can move through to the next one here. So we're looking at HubSpot forms on Wistia. So in this particular case, this is one of our, this is a screenshot of within Wistia itself. And ultimately it gives you an option on the side here. There are lots of different options for integrations, but the HubSpot form is now there as an option. So you're able to then select a form. It may be one that you've created previously, or it might be one that has actually one that you're creating specifically for use on this video. Given that it's appearing over the top of the video, our recommendation would be to minimize the number of fields that you've got, ideally so that you don't have a scrolling action to get through the form. So again, a really strong value add there. You're also able to set the time at which the form will appear. So if you are looking to add it at the end of the video, you can add it in, towards the tail end of the video. If you are looking at, disrupting the viewing right from the outset, you can set it at the 1 second mark or the 0 second mark, so it appears as soon as it's up. The other thing too is that depending on your sort of preferences and what the purpose of the form and the lead capture is, if ideally you'd like people to fill out the form before they watch the video, then you can just leave it and say, don't tick this box, and basically the form will remain over the top of the video until someone's actually filled it out. If, however, you're feeling a little bit more charitable and the lead capture is kind of an optional extra, then you can allow viewers to skip it, and a little skip button comes up on the corner. I've got an example here of it actually in situ. So this is actually a blog post on our website about Cradle, and we have a dedicated video towards that. So once I hit the play button, this is what comes up. So there are ways to kind of further optimize it, but ultimately it's preloaded all my data because it recognizes me. This is the little skip button that we were talking about before. So if people, we want to kind of let them scroll through, then you will be able to. Although I've just realized I didn't share the tab. So let me just shift that over again. So sorry, you should be now seeing a Refuel blog on your screen. So just kind of recapping how it actually looks. So then when we move through on this particular blog that's about Cradle as a watch system that integrates with HubSpot, we do have a video here that is about our experiences with Cradle. So in this particular case for the Hug event today, I've made it show up immediately so that we can actually see it in action and not wait till the end of the video. But yeah, this is where that optional, if you decide to allow people to skip it, you get this nice little icon down the bottom, giving people that option. But if you're, providing a video that's perhaps 5 to 10 minutes long or even longer with some really valuable content in it, you may want to, kind of force them to sign up in order to view the rest of it. So that gives us a fairly strong example there of what's going on there. Okay. CRM timeline events. So this is an example, a screenshot of what you would see on the contact record. I'm happy to pull up, in this case, the contact record for this particular person, a client of ours. We look at the video and heat map. It then gives us, as you saw in the initial video, it actually tells us, when this person watched it. If they've only watched 50%, it'll actually show us the 50% that they've watched. So if they're a little impatient like me, maybe they got through the first 10 seconds and then just skip through to the last 10 seconds, for example. So it does help to give us that information as well, which is really, really handy as well. So we've talked a bit about what Wistia is like, because of the leveraging the MediaBridge API. We've talked a little bit about what happens in HubSpot and what kind of features are now available. But what does that mean then, I guess, from an automation perspective? So, you're able to use lead scoring, for example, to segment prospects based on the video engagement. So if any of you are using the HubSpot score, you're able to now bring in those kind of elements in order to, you might say, or if someone's watched a specific video, it might be a demo video, for example, and they've also watched 50% of that video, then they've made it through 20 minutes of content. We're going to give them an additional 50 points because it means that they must be quite interested in our product or our service, and so then we should actually give that over to the sales team so they help them, and it might even then at that point help the sales team to then prioritize those that they need to follow up from there. Hi, Dev. Nice to see you. Welcome. So ultimately, that's where we, can start to see the value of these sort of integrations coming in. So that's part there. The other thing we're able to do then is to build lists that can be used to create targeted, personalized experiences. So those lists might be based on, okay, well, we're setting the criteria as someone who's watched a specific video, they've watched 50% of it, or they've watched 10% of it, or they have watched it within the last 30 days. There's a lot of that kind of rich media data that's coming back in now with Wistia. So we're able to do quite a lot from a granularity perspective. And then finally, we're able to gain some further insights into how contacts and companies engage with media and measure some of the ROI there. So I've prepared a bit of a test workflow to share with you today. Again, this one is kind of based on a fairly, we've sort of just let it to be quite loose comparatively, but the main thing here is that if we wanted to, we could go further. So at the moment, it's based on, okay, well, we want the play to have occurred after the 1st of June in 2020. The media name, we've picked the relevant video name that's come out of Wistia. And then if we wanted to, we can actually give it some percentages. So we might say, okay, well, the percentage has to be, greater than or equal to 20%, let's say, for example. So we can start to really sort of narrow in on here as well. I'm just going to remove that for now because I actually did set up an if-then branch below to kind of further demonstrate the point. So as we scroll down here, we're able to then set another if-then branch and use any of the sort of Wistia criteria that is available to us. So in this particular case, I've said if they've watched 50% of the video, please send them newsletter 5. If they haven't watched 50% of the video, please send them newsletter 6. So it's a very simple, straightforward workflow, but it certainly has the room to be as complex as you like. Just one thing to sort of look at here is we can look at the different Wistia options. So there, it could be that they've clicked a CTA within the Wistia, within the video. It may be that they have completed a form using the turnstile feature there, or they might have clicked one of the annotations that appear on it. So you can then also use those those triggers as well in order to kind of further figure out whether the person should be entering the workflow, of course, as well. So there are those different options there, but there really is a lot of opportunity here, particularly from an automation perspective. So, I think happy to take questions on that, or we can talk about some specific examples if we need. But yeah, ultimately it does give you that kind of level of granularity. Just while we're in here, I will touch on something else. Wistia is the feature, the video app that we're focusing on today in today's session. But I did also, just while we're here, want to point out that with 23, if you're using 23 for webinars, that's the other thing you could do, is actually then put in an action, which is to prompt them to sign up for a webinar on 23. 23 also has, as another alternative, does have similar types of triggers available for review. So I might just have a quick look at those now while we're still here. So 23's got a few. You're able to look at the video views, the video mail, call to action clicks, poll answers, and so on. So 23 have also got as another alternative. So then it really then does come down to your business case and which of the two platforms is going to work best. Okay, very good. Okay, share this tab instead. So this is a quote that comes from the marketing operations manager at Wistia, Jean Melang. The integration makes it easier for customers to easily embed any asset from their Wistia library into their HubSpot email or CMS. With videos and audio clips added to email campaigns, we expect to see even higher engagement rates across the board. So ultimately, what the Media Bridge API here has enabled is just a more seamless experience for the person who's actually using it. So the marketer, the content marketer, or the content creation person responsible for content creation. It's really making their lives a lot easier, but also it's then powering the CRM with more and more data, which then also can impact positively on the sales team, for example, giving them additional context when they enter a phone conversation, but also, then also allowing for the impact on lead scoring and all that kind of thing as well. So there are a lot of sort of different features here, and it really is a way to enrich what your current activities are going, particularly if you're already investing in video. If you're already investing in video content for YouTube, for example, all good. No worries, Dev. Happy to provide a recording of the sessions. Not a problem. So ultimately, that's one of those. That's there. Okay. I just wanted to quickly sort of finish off there with just showing you some of the other options. We have briefly talked about 23. We've focused a fair bit on Wistia today around what is available in terms of what the Media Bridge API has enabled. But there are other options out there. So if you are looking for alternative options, then certainly that's something that we can, there's plenty of options there to look at. Any questions on that? That's a good one, Sam. What does Wistia offer that sets it apart from others? So Wistia as a platform is, certainly compared to 23, sometimes we have found it to be a bit more reliable in terms of the stream quality of the video. So if you're uploading, yes, Wistia is, so it's essentially, that's one of the key sort of elements there, but also it just is a really easy interface to use. And, that's something I really like about the clean UI when you're actually uploading the videos. But yes, Wistia is available to HubSpot users. It is a separate app, and they do have separate pricing tiers. But ultimately, yes, Wistia is available to all users. But I will just check. Are there any other questions from the floor? So one thing about Wistia, just to, in terms of HubSpot subscription levels, it looks like it is available to Marketing Hub Pro and up. Okay. Well, if there aren't any, yeah, Amber, certainly it looks. We found that with Wistia, it does help display it neatly, but it also might be a template issue. So it really just depends on how the templates have been set up. Wistia does seem to present nicely when we use it compared to the native video, but again, I think sometimes it might just be something around the email template and the way that that's currently set up. Awesome. Amazing. All right. Thank you for your questions. And yes, Carol's, I think, Carol, it's probably time for you to join us on screen. So if you could join us on screen, you turn on your video and turn on your microphone. I'll stop the screen share, and yeah, it'll be time for us to start having a chat, and we might kind of start with making sure that your videos are displaying well. Okay, stop sharing. I think that's all looking pretty good. Carol, looks like your video is on, but your microphone is not. Okay. Okay, hang on 1 minute. Oh, look, there you are, Carol. I can see you.
I'm mute. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
There you are. There she is.
Hello.
Hello, Carol. Welcome to the party. Carol is our videographer here at Refuel Creative. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you. It was great to hear some more about Wistia Rubina, that I didn't know everything that you just said. So that was great.
Great, awesome. Well, I'm glad to help teach. That's so good.
Yep.
Might just go off the back of Amber's question around why video sometimes doesn't display neatly online, and I think it might be a template issue if the size of the space isn't big enough or it's too small. But also around the size and format of the video, perhaps Carol, if you can kind of elaborate a bit further on that, that'd be great.
Yeah. So with the format, I think it has to be at least well, not too. For example, you don't want to send a client or someone in email like a 4K video. So it has to be compressed enough so they can open using like normal connection with the internet, and the size as well. So I would say try to keep as small as possible, because sometimes it's more important for them to be able to watch it instead of see the real, like a real quality image. So that's something to consider.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might roll through to some of our questions. So okay, this is a really big one, but what makes a great creative video?
That's a good one. I made some notes on that question because there's so much stuff to talk about it. So I would say first, to create a good creative video would be to consider your audience. So your video has to be made for your audience in the first place. It has to works for the target and talks to them. So you really have to create a video tailored to the public you want to reach. So first you have to understand your audience before start planning. Then I'll say you have to have a clear brief before start throwing out ideas. So what you want to reach with the video, and how do you want like to take people there, like what do you want to achieve with your video. Then with a clear brief, you're more likely to create an efficient plan to produce a video. And then it goes to production. So it's important to have not just a creative idea, but to have an efficient plan. So it's important for you to create a storyboard before shooting, and that's important to oversee any issues that you might have on production, and or things that not quite work and you thought it would work, but yeah, it's a great way to oversee any issues before start shooting. um I think that's the main points. And also, of course, like be creative. Don't just use your first idea. So make some time to bake ideas in your head with your team. It's important to get others' point of view as well. Yeah, then you can start creating great productions, I guess.
I think so, yeah. What about when creating like video ads in particular for digital channels? So whether that's going to be like a social ad or a YouTube ad or just, serving across display network or however. What are your kind of tips for creating those types of videos so that they're effective, and how might they differ from, a TVC, for example?
Yeah. So I think for those kind of, well, any kind of video, I think you have to have like a compelling story that is able to catch and retain your audience. So planning and doing some sessions of brainstorming, for example, is a great way to start before start shooting. And like I said, don't go with the first idea. And so we say like this 3 to 5 seconds are the most important part of your video, because so you have to make it stands out, because it will decide if people will just keep scrolling or they will watch your content. It's also good to try to incorporate your colors or some aspect of your brand on your video somehow, even though if it's just a subtle watermark or a color in the lower thirds, the titles, something like that. Because even though it's subtle, it will remind people that that's your video, that's your brand, that it's in there. And maybe try a few versions of the same concept. So, for example, you can have a longer version and a short version, and you can always analyze how your audience responds to your videos. It's a great way to make successful, like future ones, for example. So it's all about testing and adjusting the length or the messaging according to the analytics. And I will always include a CTA at the end, so a call to action to lead your audience to take action after watch your content. So it can be like a click at the link to know more, get in touch with us, or if it's a product like buy, you can buy with this link. And well, CTA is very important. And I think last thing will be maybe create a different formats, like a vertical one for stories or a square format for Instagram. And always also keep in mind the duration that those channels allow. Yeah.
There's a lot there. I feel like we've covered a lot in a very short space of time, and I think sometimes video can be overwhelming for some. And there's a lot of components, there's a lot of moving parts. Not everybody has a background in video. So what are your tips to make these kind of projects a little less overwhelming? I think that the data says that based on the sort of the setting of how video is being used across marketing around the world, and then what kind of data we're able to sort of pull out from there. It's obviously an area we need to invest in, but also it can feel a bit overwhelming because there are so many moving parts. So what are your tips to make it less overwhelming, Carol?
Yeah, that's so true. Like, not just creating a video can be overwhelming, but for the people that's gonna, for example, be in front of the camera, like me, I freak out. Like, even though I am familiar with videos and stuff, I just freak out. So don't worry, you're not alone. So a few of my tips is, like I said before, plan your video. So you get to know the steps that you're going to take. You get to know exactly what's going to happen before you shoot. It might help you to get a little bit of the anxiety and like the worries out of your shoulders. Yeah, and that will make you more confident and comfortable with the steps that you take before start producing your content. So to do that, you can download our storyboard that will help you organize your ideas and put them in paper. So I swear it's a really fun and creative process, and it might help you, like, inspire you to get started with your plan, with your content. If it's your first video, just don't overthink it, because sometimes you just have to do the first ones, and that will help you with the anxiety as well. And the more you do, the more you get used to it. And my last tip is just to have fun during the process, because at the end of the day, it's not like a seven-headed monster, and you will end up with something that you created, and yeah, that showcase your message or your service. So just do it.
I like it. Just get it done. Do it.
Yeah.
Let's switch to technical side now a little bit. What kind of gear do you think is absolutely essential for video?
Okay, so that's a really broad question, because we have all levels of video. So you can do just homemade video, not homemade video, but like video shoot with your phone, which is okay as well, because phones nowadays are so amazing and compact. But I'll say lights are essential. So have a good set of lights, or if you don't have a set of light, just place yourself or your subject close to a nice bright window. Use the sun in your favor. That's really important, because you can even see with your phone when you're gonna do a photo or whatever. You can see a real improvement on the media if you just light it up. So lights. Second thing is microphone. Sound is as much as important as the visual. So you can invest in a good lapel mic. Rode do some good ones. They are wireless, and we can give the link if we can afterwards. Or if you don't have the money to invest in a good lapel mic, find a good and quiet place to shoot. That will help as well. Tripod for stability, or again, if you don't have a tripod, just place your phone somewhere. Don't leave someone filming, because it will be shaky and will be annoying for the video, for the audience, and it's not, well, it won't look professional. So tripods are good for stability. And I have here lenses, but it's not a major thing. I mean, if you are filming with your phone, like I said, you don't have to invest in extra lenses. But if you're using like a professional camera, you can buy some longer lenses that can give you a nice blurred background and a more, I'll say, interesting visual to your video.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much it. And of course, the camera. So if you can, like I said, phones are great nowadays. But if you can invest in a professional or semi-professional camera, will be good too.
Very good. Awesome. Well, if there are any questions from the floor, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll get to them. But I thought that it might be nice to talk about some of the work we've been doing, Carolyn, some of your favorites and why they're your favorite. So yeah, let's start with that.
Cool. So the most recent one is the Trees Please Games video ads that we just did. So they have an app, a game that's called Merge Wildwood, and we're all addicted to it. It's very
Well,
fun.
it's client research.
Yeah, of course.
And it's and we have to fully understand the game so we can really understand the addictive parts of the game and then showcase those parts in the ads.
Yes, and we did it. So we created an ad that showcased the gaming side, but the company that develops the game has a story behind it, that they plant trees, real trees in real world when you play and when you like level up. So we created a concept. Rubina,
Yes,
you
yeah, yeah,
share?
yeah. I've got it here.
Okay, so we created. I think I sent you two, but
Yes.
one
I
is
did a
main.
video 4. We did video 4, 100 trees planted, I think.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
So
That's a
here we
good one.
go. So
Yeah.
we might just hit play on that for a bit of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so with this one, you can clearly see the CTA at the end. We just used a really vibrant and upbeat music. We use like the repetition as a way to hold the audience to keep watching the video, and the achievements to make them watch to the end. So they just kept being rewarded with the gameplay. So yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah.
Fun to develop and to to see the results.
I think the fun one with that is that once we, in that particular iteration, because of that sort of market, there's a lot of iteration and a lot of A/B testing. So there's little things that we do for variants in that particular case where, all right, well, let's test purple version of the button with the CTA, or let's try brown, or let's try yellow or orange and see what kind of impact it has on the click-throughs. So it's kind of also another example of where you can, start to make some testing sort of changes as well there as well. So it's a whole thing that we haven't really talked about on this particular HubSpot session, but there's also that opportunity for testing, and we should, as marketers, do A/B testing across the board, no matter what we're doing, particularly if you are a HubSpot user and you're sitting at the pro levels and above. There's really no excuses not to be using the A/B testing functions that are within there. So that equally extends out to video where the time and the resources allow for it.
Yeah.
Yes, were there any questions from the floor? Oh, looks like there's one.
Which video editing software do I recommend? So I always recommend Adobe Premiere because I think Adobe is great. It's always innovating in their tools. They talk to each other, like to all other softwares. They're not. They have like a friendly interface. Well, they are. You have to pay for them, but I think it's totally worth it. And yeah, you can make great use of. Yeah, you can always use like some apps to edit simple videos, but I think Premiere is a great professional one.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
tend to agree.
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that kind of brings us towards the end of our session. If there are any other last minute questions, to come in. But ultimately, I think it's been a really great afternoon where we've looked at the data side of video and what's available there, but then also taking it, a bit lighter on the second half and talking about the creative side of video. So really happy that we're able to do both there. Our next Hug event is coming up in June. And we'll have a sales focus. So we hope that you'll be able to join us then. Hope everybody has a good afternoon, a good week, a good weekend, depending on when you're watching this. If you're watching it on the replay, we'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, thanks everyone. Have
Bye,
a good
Rubina.
afternoon.
Bye, guys. Thank you.